Friend, he's Savior and he is Lamb. If he did it before, he will do it again. You see, he's the same God who carved out a path in the ocean, who constantly makes ways in impossible situations. He is the God who calmed the storm with a word and healed a leper who was simply reaching out. We serve the same God of Abraham, David, Mary, and Paul, choosing the unqualified, broken people, yet working through them all. You see, we serve a living, active God, an unchanging God, a God who is constantly welcoming the prodigals back home. You see, if he did it before, I'm telling you, he will do it again. If he answered prayers from back then, he will answer prayers now. If he came in power back then, he will come in power now. He is the God who sees, and he sees you right now. So when it feels like everything is shaking, I want you to remember, he is secure, he is steady, he is unchanging and everlasting. He is the same God.
Hello, good evening, everybody, wherever you are listening to me today. This is another edition of your program, Online with Pastor Toks. And today, as we did last week, we'll be looking at very interesting topic that has to do with parenting. And I believe we all benefit from this tremendously today. So wherever you are joining today, I want to welcome you to this program. I also want to take this time to let you know that if you have not subscribed to our channel, whether you're watching on Rehoboth TV or Ars Yoruba Assembly YouTube, please go ahead and subscribe so that when we have programs like this regularly, you'll be notified. So subscribe and also click on the notification icon as well. So today, by the grace of God, we'll be having this discussion, and we have online today our regular contributors to this program. I'll be introducing them very shortly. But I want to let you know that if you have not shared this um, channel already, please share with somebody who may benefit from this programming today. And I'm very sure they'll be glad you did. So let me bring in our guest today as we continue. Okay, Sister Vivian, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Glad to have you on the program today. I believe
Thank
Pastor Yinka is there as well. He'll be joining us very soon. He told me he just handling some things now, so he'll be joining us very soon. So we want to talk about something very interesting today. I know you came up with that topic. I want to kick us to kick us off the day on this program.
Yes. What did you ask me a question?
Yeah, I know you came up with the topic we are discussing today. If you can introduce
Yes.
it so that we can start deliberating on it.
Yes. So the topic is just talking to your children before the world does. I can't remember how it was phrased, but having
That was actually
conversation.
teach them the word
Yeah.
before the world teaches them.
Yes, before teaches them. Yeah, teach your children. Yeah. So the topic basically came from just looking at so many themes as far as what's going on in the world and the strategies I use in my home with my boys and how that is helped with our relationship. And so it's just basically saying what are the sort of conversations do we need to start having with our children, age appropriate conversations, and how that would help them, because when they get outside, there are so many people willing to teach them for free things that we don't even want them to learn, or we want to be able to instill in them our perspective on certain topics, so that when they get outside, when someone even brings it up, they already know, okay, what does mommy or daddy feel about this? What does my religion or my spirituality, what does it have to do with this, and how do I handle it? So I think just having those conversations ahead of time, that's the basis for the topic. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting anyway. And you said something that I picked as we are discussing now about age appropriate,
Mm-hmm.
discussion. So,
Mm-hmm.
when is the appropriate age to start engaging our children on those things?
As early as they are at the age of understanding. The conversation you would have with a 3-year old or a
Yeah.
4-year old will be different from that which you will have with a 10-year old or a 13 or a 14-year old. And also depending on the maturity of the child. So I have a almost 14 and a 12-year old. Because they're so close in age, and because my 12-year-old is also very exposed to a lot of things, I just have the same conversations with both of them, simply because I understand that with the age, the closeness of age, most likely they're exposed to the same sort of content, the same set of friends, because even most of my 12-year-old friends are in 8th grade, some
Okay.
are in 9th grade, some are in 10th grade. So it at that point it just makes sense to educate both of them on the same topics. But a 6-year old now, I won't talk to a 6-year old about sex or um what my thoughts are about homosexuality, or what is my thought about police brutality, or those sort of topics. But I can with my 13-year-old, and I can with my 12-year-old, simply because they're already exposed to those things. They watch stuff on YouTube, they hear things, they have conversation. They're at the age of awareness, so it I will talk to them differently than I will with a 9-year-old or a 6-year-old or even a 4-year-old.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Let me take you about that. I don't know whether this happens in the US, but here in Canada, sometimes we do give some consent from school saying that okay, they want to have this discussion in classrooms, and we should agree or disagree whether we want
Mm-hmm.
our children to be involved in it. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes this comes at very elementary school, maybe 6, 7 years old,
Yeah.
8 years old. So, and these are topics that has to do with, for example, sex issues, homosexuality, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's like when those phones comes, how do parents handle it? I don't know why they do it in the US as well.
Yeah.
Because they want to teach them things that may not be in alignment with my faith, for example.
Faith. Yeah.
So how do you
Um,
handle such a thing, for example?
Yeah, I think because we're Christians, and our decisions are solely based on directions from
Yeah,
God. I hope it is. And because the world we live in, especially if your child goes to a public school, not a
yeah,
Christian school,
yeah,
you would understand that what they will teach them is has a basis of what the world is expecting. They will teach them about masturbation. It's okay to masturbate. It's okay to touch yourself. It's okay to like a boy. If you're a boy, it's okay. So they're going to expose them to even things like, oh, it's okay to, have sex as long as you protect yourself. Is that what you want your child to learn? Most likely, no. So at that point, I would opt out from such, because then I believe that I could do a better job at home
yeah.
teaching my child, especially if you know you can teach your child. So because some parents will opt out and still don't have a way to teach their kids, or they are not
That is
fully
where I'm going to.
aware.
That's what I'm going to, because what I do know is that a lot of parents opt out for that program. That though they don't want
Mm-hmm.
them to be exposed to it now,
Mm-hmm.
but do they engage them as well? That's the question. That could be that gap.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
no?
I think most parents are shy of having those conversations. They don't even know how to, because a lot of us, our parents didn't really have those conversations with us.
Yeah,
They just say don't touch a if a boy touches you, you'll get pregnant. That was what they told me when I was growing up, you know. And the boys, they didn't, there was no conversation. They allowed the boys to do whatever they wanted to do. They come back late, but maybe some parents would say, don't give a girl, you know, don't get a girl pregnant. That would be the only thing. So I think a lot of us don't really have that foundation of like sex education, in as much as even now it affects some people, not just as a parent, but even when they're married, they can't even have that conversation with their spouse because they just see sex as something that is like so out there. For me, I'll tell you what worked for me. um Once I noticed that my kids were exposed to at least having knowledge of, okay, sex, based on, I think I had a babysitter once a few years ago that, um it was my kids and some other kids there. One of the kids opened porn somehow, and all the kids got to saw they saw it, including my innocent 5 6 year old. I was
Really?
so devastated.
Wow.
And I was the babysitter, a Nigerian girl. She was just doing her own thing. I went to work. She had like 5 or 6 kids at home. They were just doing whatever, and this happened apparently for a whole week. They were watching things that they shouldn't watch, and I didn't know
And the
until
babysitter was not there?
uh, uh
Babysitter was there?
yeah, she was there, but she didn't know what they were doing. She was maybe
Wow.
on her phone, maybe watching TV, just, young girl. She didn't
Mm,
really care. She wasn't that young. She was in her late 20s, but somehow she just didn't care, I suppose, that she didn't know what they were doing. So when I saw that they were exposed to that, I now had to have a conversation because over the years we've protected our children from seeing certain things. I don't listen to worldly music. I don't We don't watch anything that will show people in compromising position.
positions,
Maybe
yeah.
they're about to have sex or they are kissing. We avoided all those things at home. If we see the kids coming and we're watching something, we're changing it. I would yell at my husband even if he mistakenly plays anything that. So we've tried to protect what they saw at home. And so when that happened, I was first devastated. I remember screaming. I think I cried. I was just so, because that's the worst thing you want your child to be exposed to as their
Yeah.
first information about sex. It distorts
Mm,
their idea.
yeah.
So I had to at that early age, 6 7 I believe, to now start talking to them and educating them that what you saw is not a true representation of how God designed sex to be. It's the perverted version. So I had to have this conversation. Obviously they were just so devastated. Just the whole idea of me even having that conversation with them, but at that point we had to. And so over the years, I believe it was a year or so ago, I um I now wrote a book about intentional parenting. And in that book, I think we have 100 questions you could have ask your children. So everything from sex to homosexuality, and it would be simple things like there was a time I would switch the channel if I see two guys kissing or two girls kissing, and I was just trying to avoid the conversation. But every time we're driving by, you see the rainbow flag, you
Mm,
see boys holding hands, and you want to pretend that your children don't know, but they know. So I had to get to a point where I said, you know what, let me just be open. Let's have this conversation. So I now asked them one day, I remember that day clearly. I said, what are your thoughts about the LGBTQ thing? Oh my goodness, my boys were now talking. The things I didn't know they knew, like they
they
knew so
knew.
much.
Mm,
They knew so much, and they talked about furry, the people who act like animals. They knew much more than I thought that they knew, and it now freed them to talk. Then we talked about racism, police brutality. What are your thoughts about? Yeah, we talked about the role of a man and a woman in a relationship. We talked about delayed gratification. What are your thoughts about different scenes? We talked about lying and stealing. We talked about wealth. What are your thoughts about managing money, spending money? So over 100 questions just over time randomly just would pick a topic,
So
and you'll be
is
amazed
that
what your children know. Yeah, go ahead.
is that in the book you mentioned you published?
Yeah, it's in the book. Yeah, it's called
Okay.
Intentional Parenting, and it also has a workbook. And the
Oh,
workbook helps you actually have this conversation, write down their thoughts. I was supposed to release the children's version of the journal where your child could also write down your thoughts on
is
different
this
topics,
something
but
that you
I got
think
so busy.
we
Yeah.
can actually profile on this channel? Maybe go through it together, and people can learn from it, and also encourage them to buy it for their
Yeah.
own
Yeah,
parenting
I'll
skills.
send you the link, but it
Yeah.
has really helped us in a way that
Mm.
it was freeing. Now when we see certain things, I don't freak out anymore
Okay.
because we've had the conversation. And what we did, we shared, this is what mommy and daddy think about this. This is the Okoje's principle on
Views.
this topic, on this issue. This is how the world view it, but as Christians, this is how God sees it. This is what God says about it. So they know. So at the end of the day, they make informed decision on, we talk everything from drinking, smoking, drugs, suicide, everything. There
Yeah,
were
I
no
think those are
boundaries. I
topics
mean, some
that
things we didn't, I didn't go deep into certain things, but just very simple things that I know that they are aware of because they have friends that maybe they will send messages. I know a girl sent my son a message about being suicidal,
hmm,
and he had to now start saying, oh, and I was so proud of his conversation with her because of what he has learned. And so we don't know that these kids they spend most of their time in school outside of the home. They spend more time with their peers outside of the home. So what are you teaching them at home compared to what their friends and the world and the TV and the TikTok and the Instagram and
I
social
know.
media is teaching them?
I know even on TV these days, even ordinary advertisement, they
Oh
try
yeah.
to represent this issue in such a way that it's an acceptable way of life in society. So that when you are
Yes.
watching advertisement, ordinary advertisement, you see
Mm-hmm.
those things that tend to
Yeah.
depict that yes, this is allowed.
Yeah, yeah. It's an agenda and
Mm,
it's working for the world. And right now, a 10-year-old or a 7-year-old or a 5-year-old can wake up and say, oh, I feel like I'm in the wrong body. And it's
mm,
like, oh, let's embrace you. So having those conversations, because then, you want your kids to be aware. Is it that we can control our children to the point where if they now grow up and choose to start doing certain things, then we feel like we failed? No, make sure as a parent you train up your child in the way they should go. When they're old, they won't depart from it. It's not like they may not make mistakes, they
yeah,
may not fall into certain temptations,
yeah.
but they would always remember
Who
what
they are.
mommy, that voice would always ring. That they'll remember that conversation with daddy, that, oh, okay, in our family we don't do this, we don't do that. It would always ring, so that even when someone is telling them come join a gang, they will remember what mommy says or what daddy says. And but if we just leave them, the world will teach them whatever, and they will now try to start cleaning the
The
mess, and we don't
mess.
want that.
And by that time, it may be too late. Okay, let me go to this. Pastor Yinka, you are welcome to the discussion. I believe you can hear us.
Thank you again.
Okay, so let me talk about this issue briefly. Um, for you, Sister Vivian, you have two boys.
Mm-hmm.
Engaging the boys at the same level is very easy. And me, I have all girls, four of them.
Mm-hmm.
That's another challenge on its own. Then Pastor Yinka has both sexes, you know. So from that perspective, how do we, approach for someone that has a mixed sex like Pastor Yinka? How do you handle such discussions so that all of them feel comfortable discussing, in that kind of environment, making sure
You
that
don't. Yeah, you can customize based on, I believe in the book I actually have that. So when you're talking to a 6-year-old, less perhaps about sex, it won't be the same way you would talk to a 13, 15, 18-year-old. You understand? So let's say maybe with a 6-year-old, you could say things like, oh, do you know, it could just be random. Maybe prompts are like good TV. Maybe a TV show, a cartoon comes up, and then they show maybe a boy chasing a girl and all that. You could sort of start light like that, and you say you could talk, and maybe they see two people kissing. You could now sort of use that as a prompt. But there are ways you would talk to them. You could talk to them about right and wrong touches. You could talk to them about when two people love each other, they become close, and but it's for the right time, and when they get married, and make it very light compared to when it's a teenager. A teenager is fully aware of sex. They know what it is. They know. So your 10-year-old, if you have a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 9-year-old, they are fully aware, but they would act like they don't. So you just have to have those conversations in a way that is still age appropriate. And they're in the book that I wrote, there are several clues in there on how to do that and how to simplify it. That way you don't freak them out. But just having those conversations based on, even if it's the Bible, like a scripture could come up and they say, oh, what is fornication? And you could say, oh, you could now explain what it is and lead to that sort of topic, and all of that. Yeah.
Pastor, you guys want to say something about that?
Okay, yes. We forgot our cue in. Yeah, you know where your children are.
Oh yeah.
You said we're going to be using that. Sir Vivian, how are you doing?
Good evening. Good evening,
Good
Pastor.
evening. I see you. I can see you are still on the road.
Yeah, I'm at the park. I was supposed to exercise with my husband, so I told him to go ahead.
Oh
With
wow.
me. Yeah.
I mean the spiritual one. Okay, yes. You kind of touched on everything because I was listening in when you started, when I couldn't join you. Train up a child in the way he should go. And what you have said is that child training have stages. Just like our blueprint that we normally use 0 to 5, 6 to 9. And there's one point you said last that I don't totally agree with. Why did I say that? There are some 9-year-old that are, for exceptional cases anyway, that are far more advanced than some teenagers. You agree what I'm saying? We had a program while in Nigeria some time ago with all the teenagers and the young people. And man, if you see, the Holy Spirit really moved, and the man of God told them, I can't forget that service. That okay, if a boy and a girl say they are in love with each other, they sleep with each other, who stand the risk of getting pregnant? Say the girl. Who stand the risk of getting an abortion? Say the girl. Who's at the risk of maybe stopping school?
The girl.
Who's at the risk of say so? Wise up and shut up. So now the one I want to bring out is that the man of God asked them to write. If you see the pile of confessions they made, 9-year-old, 12 years old, they are sexually active.
Oh yeah.
Because the conviction was so strong. We had a pile that we have to read that even if you don't want to put your number there, don't put. I'm talking about what I'm saying here is about 2010, maybe 2010, 2012. I mean, a big church in Port Harcourt, you know if you are living in Port Harcourt. So at times, it depends on where those children are coming from, the environment they are exposed to. Yes, because there are some people, 9-year-old, some 18-year-old are still like only Marian. You don't know exactly. Then the 12-year-old look at what are you talking about?
Yeah.
But as Christians, the earlier we start, the better.
Yeah.
That scripture, in fact, when you quoted it, it opened. We've been using it on this program. It opened, train up a child in the way he should go. When he's old, it will not depart from you. Though there will be pressure, there will be peer pressure pulling him, but you had laid the right foundation. And I have a vivid case. A pastor told me something like that when the children were misbehaving, the only thing he was just saying is, hey, you are covenanted children. There's nowhere you are going. You are covenanted children. Look, put your eyes there. Don't just let it be what you cannot be something that you cannot recover yourself from again. Before you know it, the child just came and say, Mom, Dad, what happened to your hairstyle and everything? That I'm not comfortable with it. So the mother was laughing, say, I thought there's a time we shouldn't be too pressuring, like exactly say, well, I know, but I know you're a child of God. No matter what the devil throws at you, you will stand and do a lot on our knees too, because the devil wants to attack the testimony of the believer.
Yeah.
We know the story of Eli. We know the story of even Samuel too in the Bible. So we'll do a lot on our knees, and at the same time, we make sure that, if we don't do training, like you said, the world will train them for us.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because the technology now is crazy. It's crazy, and it's a conflict between the things of the spirit and the things of the flesh. The Bible says they are contrary to one another. And we know that before you can get somebody that will preach to you yourself, you will have gotten 9 people that will have told you the other one.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So they face with the same challenge too. But as parents that have authority, spiritual authority over them, we can settle a lot on our knees. As they grow, as they grow in the community, we may not be there when they're in college. Even our toddlers too. There are some children they go to school with in the elementary school that in the physical realm, and we are seeing them physically, they are babies. But in the spiritual realm, they are giants.
Yeah, yeah.
And some of them are demonic recruiters.
Oh, yes.
Exactly. So, and people should not think it's only in Africa. It's even more vivid here.
More here.
Oh, yes.
Very soon we're going to be celebrating the dead. I think you talked about it last week. Say your children know that they don't do Halloween, right?
Yep, Halloween. Yep.
It's all over there. If imagine you're not training them, you are running after the dollars. The husband is running after the dollars, and the children will just go into it's the world. Our parents think they are from Africa. That's what they don't know about it, and people are doing it ignorantly. The question I want to ask when I was listening in is that how do we balance it as a couple? I know you ladies, you have a special touch with our children. Nobody is disputing that. How do we do it? I mean, as a couple, and when is it right for us to do it? Like, there's a one-on-one because your children they are 12, 14, right?
Yeah.
Aha. Some of us, my age gap is not too bad. My own is not bad. My daughter is 22. My son is 21. The last boy is 19. I mean, it's 19 years, going to be 20 next year. The gap is still close. What about when you have, people that are so smart that gap their children like maybe 12, 18? Some of us are not so smart.
What I can say about that,
we don't know nothing, right?
It's better when they're closer in age. It saves you a lot of money.
So how do we balance it? If I want to answer that, I still have one-on-one with my kids. Maybe we just have to get grocery. One of them is telling me, and somehow we just flew into the conversation.
Yes.
And I be telling them, look, your dad was not a saint, though. But I thank God I know Christ, and I was almost regretting. I wish I had not gone into. So let them know that the pressure there. I'm not like a spiritual throne. Telling them, see that if you sin, you die, and all that. Just telling them the precaution of it. I mean, exactly that. Even me, that I was there before, I'm regretting. I wish I had known Christ.
Yeah.
It works too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think being real works. I think Pastor Toks has something to say. Sorry.
Yeah, what I want to add to that is that my experience has been that some parents, we are too conservative, in engaging our children, and we just felt that, oh, don't let us talk about it now. Why do they want to know about this issue? Like you said before, sometimes when we don't allow them to participate in some class activities because of what they're discussing there, we still did not engage them to say this is what it should be like and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So, and I think we need to be able to create a balance between not uh, being too forward and engaging them with a lot of these issues, and being open as well to discuss the reality they are facing every day. Because the children of today, in particular, are very curious. They
Mhm.
want to know things. They hear things around them, and they are wondering why they are not, involved in this kind of activities. You know. Also, as Pastor Yika said, let's look for every opportunity to casually discuss this thing. It's not until you sat them down you will make it official discussion. No, you know, once that opportunity comes, it could be like I said before, from watching a TV program. It could be like a conversation just taking place, and just talk about around issues. See, I have 4 guys, and what I dread most is for somebody to just speak to their head and turn them around, particularly boys. So I normally tell them something. I said, in my house, I don't know how many times I tell my guys I love them. I repeat that regularly. I love
Good.
you, I love you, I love you. And I said to them, so it will be very difficult for somebody to just use that slang to scream my children because they know what it means to be loved, and you can't just use that slang or that statement to just say, think that my guests will just fall on your laps. No way, because
Yeah.
they've had it again and again. To them, it makes a meaning, and they know what I can do for them. So little things like that you drop into their life, making sure that they are very much aware of who they are and what their life represents. Can really help them to prepare for the challenges out there they are facing every day. You want to say something about that, Pastor Vivian?
Yes, I definitely agree with you. I believe that, especially with the female child, it's
Yeah,
very important to constantly reassure them that they have the love of a father,
yeah,
and that the father would always be there and provide within his power,
it means,
and
yeah,
also spending time with them, so that that way a boy is not going to come and say, oh, let me buy you a necklace, and they are
yeah,
so impressed by it. So
yeah,
I remember growing up, I felt like my dad could get me anything I wanted, at least that I needed. So
mm,
even when a guy would come and say, "Oh, I'll take care of you," I would say, "My dad can do anything I want for me." So that really protected me over the years, because I was never impressed by what a man had
let me
or
give
what
you
he
an
wanted to give me.
experience. When I first came to Canada, my landlord, the house I stayed in, told me something one day. I never forget. He said he was taking his children to a particular program. It's a very big event in Calgary. And I was like, why are you just taking them there? He said, say, he does not want a situation where one guy will just come along and say, I want to take you to this place, and use that one to trip him or trip her. Say no. So because
Exciting.
I want them to be sure that I can do that for them as well, So no guy will come around and use that one to just sweep her off her feet, and I learned from that experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just being able to do that helps a lot, because then it saves that child
Yeah,
um the need to say, okay, I want one man to
experience.
impress me, because they're not impressed by any of those.
Yes.
You take them out, okay, is it movies? You make sure you plan date nights with the girls.
Yeah.
Is it dinners? Expose them to fancy dinners, expose them to not just McDonald's or Burger King. Take them to fancy places. Let them try what gourmet looks like. Take them to Starbucks, whatever. take them out so that way when a boy says, oh, let me take you to this 5-star restaurant, they are not impressed because daddy is, I know what that means to dress up and go to a fancy place, even if it's just once in a while. I think those are the kind of things that help build a girl's self-esteem and for them to understand that they don't need a man to provide any of those things for them because their parents are more than capable and they've been exposed to it. And also teaching them that they don't need a man to be self-sufficient, that they could be independent, but they also could use the love and the care of a man when the right time comes, so that there's a balance. Anyway, that's all I have to add.
That's true. Thanks. I believe you said you are going somewhere. If it's time, you can actually you can be excused, really, But Pastor Ika, what happens when a child comes to the parents? Maybe he or she asks something outside and asks questions, and the parents say, "No, you are not of that age now. Don't discuss that." Is that right?
That's wrong. Very wrong. A child that comes to the parent is even a blessing.
Yes.
In most cases, they don't come. I know I didn't have such opportunity to use a different battle then. So if your child comes to you in this age and time, I mean, you should even count it as a blessing and ask God to give you the wisdom to answer the questions in not in a way that you be choking, overfeeding or over choking. So don't say it's not your time. There's not even time these days. Like I was saying that there are some 9-year-old, 12-year-old, they are super active out there.
Yeah.
I mean, now imagine you will go somewhere else and get the answers.
Yeah.
Say anything now, people say Google it. Say Google it.
Because
Google is your best.
we have people just say, where did you hear about that one from? We don't
Exactly. That's the conservative.
Yeah.
That's the way we were brought up. Like, I remember when I was in this secondary school. I wish Vivian is here so that she'll laugh at me. When I was in secondary school, that I wrote a letter to one girl. Till today, I don't know how the letter got to my uncle. It was Yinka. Where? It was really to I suffered and they beat the living daylights and they made the letter to.
In those days, you can only do that via letter writing.
There's no multimedia
Today,
now. There's
there's
no social
Instagram,
media.
there is TikTok, there is Facebook, there is everywhere. WhatsApp messages.
Yeah. So now in fact, I was just beating me. All those times we used to use Songs of Solomon. Remember? So it was just Inga. You put all this in your mind. So parents should never do that. Say, you have too much. You shut them down. Definitely, the curiosity in that child is not satisfied, and it's going to get answered somewhere.
Yes.
And I pray not even one of your nephews, and you come to teach them what is going to say.
You have brought a dimension to it now that we have not talked about before, which I think we could just touch briefly before you close. Because sometimes we think that it's some of these things they learn from outside. Sometimes they learn from people that live in the same household with them.
Yes.
And that's another dimension that is even more common, among our people. I was watching a YouTube video recently. I think it's a TikTok or whatever, and a girl was narrating her experience, how she gets involved in sexual activity from a very tender age of 8. It's a cousin that was living with them that introduced her to it. So it happens a lot within family members, particularly if they are not essentially part of the nucleus family, that they seems to have access to the children also the children have some level of confidence in relating with them because they are
Yeah.
family members.
Yes, exactly. Why did you allow Vivian to go? This is a topic.
This
She
is
should
topic,
have
but
seen.
she told me earlier that she had to be somewhere to pick her children, and
No, she said she's with her husband. They are jogging.
no, she that those are they be together till 6:30, and then 6:30 she has to leave for
Oh, got you. Okay.
yeah. So
Anyway,
that's the issue.
that's it. A lot of us we get polluted with all those, especially
Yes,
when you have parents that believe in extended family setting. I'm not
yes,
saying I'm not saying they shouldn't help family. There's a way you can protect your home. But if you don't know what you are protecting from, so it's another ignorance too. If you don't
that's
have
true.
where you are, people
That's
say
true.
the Bible say where there is no vision, the people perish. It all boils down to our outlook about the family. What kind of family are you going to raise?
You
I
know,
think you bring
there
people
is a proverb that comes to my mind now. It's a Yoruba proverb that says, "Kòkòrò tó ń jẹ̀fọ́, inú ẹ̀fọ́ ló
are
ló gbé."
Okoroto for.
You
I
know,
don't know whether it's Ola Deshi that you to Okoroto for. He was speaking that in a funny way. So like exactly. So when we don't cover our borders, when we don't protect our borders, our like my father's house, it's all and sundry. Anybody that has problem in a marriage, they are coming to our house, irrespective. So so there are different kind of cultures, different kind of. So we're not that we are not protected. Maybe we guided in any way. So and some of them are the ones that even sleep with the daughter. They defile
yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah,
They, I know the kind of exposure I got from those guys, even though I'm not a girl that, I mean, one of those guys that lived with us, one of those family
family
relatives,
members.
extended relatives. So that's another access door that every parent
Yeah,
must,
can use.
if the home is homogeneous,
Hmm.
like husband and wife know what they want
Yeah,
and they are passing away. Once we bring a third party like this, he
it's a
said
it's
only
a
one
big
person gives
issue.
birth
It's
to
a
a
big
child.
issue, particularly
He
back
said,
home in Africa. It's a big issue because we are culturally, welcoming to um, family members living with us, and if you're not careful, that can be an avenue for
for pollution.
vices, pollutions to come to the house. It's real at some really. It's very
Yeah.
real
Yes.
because people come from different background. They have different values from their own home where
Yeah.
they're coming from,
Exactly.
and they
Value.
bring into that environment as well.
What Why you are trying to help, you have to
Yes,
guide your own values too.
yes, yes,
Uh, you have to guide your
yes,
values that, okay, would there be an erosion of the values we are trying to set up in this
yeah,
house?
yeah,
Uh, so those are the things I believe parents should. I think the topic is about what is the, I think what we have a topic on the text, so there'll be a guide so that we will not veer off.
No, the
What
topic is actually about making sure that we teach our children so that the world does not teach them for us. You know, we are still really on it now because sometimes we are looking from the world from outside. You know,
exactly?
but there could be an insider in your own home.
Yeah,
That could be teaching that child something else.
yeah.
Because we are
The
not.
word can
Yeah,
with it's still the word too. Like
yeah.
that's why I would say, what are your borders? Have you
Mhm,
set your
mhm,
borders? Is it a
mhm,
Christian home or is it a
mhm,
multi-religion home?
mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So you don't have
100%.
borders already. If you already make it a multi-religion, so and you can't be there all the time. Our adage says only one person gives birth to a child. Majority takes, I mean, raises that
Yeah,
child up.
the village raised the
So
child.
exactly. So in a situation where you are not there, and those people are passing on to them so principles
Hmm.
that even you are alien, like you always said, you know
And
where your
that's a
children
good,
are.
yes, that's a
You-
good adage, really. The village raised the
Exactly.
child, so if the
Exactly.
village
They
is
are raising them with
corrupt,
some culture that is alien to what you father
yeah,
believe.
if the village is corrupt too, the village can corrupt the child.
Exactly. That's the environment. That's why I said that some kids that are maybe 9 year old,
Mm.
11 year old, they're already sexually active because of the environment they are raised, the environment,
Yeah,
what they see, what they
yeah,
watch.
yeah.
We watched one girl, this is here that was doing this lap dance one day.
That is
I
it.
was
That is it. I was like, what is this? For goodness sake. How
exactly.
did she
Well,
learn this?
because that's her world. That's what she sees.
And there were
She doesn't.
adults there clapping for her. Hey,
Oh,
you know?
exactly. So that child now, those people that are passing it to her, by the time
Mm,
that girl is 12 years old, what's of
mm.
22-year-old don't know. She already know
She
it.
already knows it, yeah. She already knows it. It's
So
quite unfortunate, really. But,
uh,
I think for us as Christian parents, it's very important for us to start very early engaging our children.
yeah,
No matter how conservative you are, you should be able to have that talk, that engagement to make sure that they know from your perspective what is the right thing to do, you know,
yeah, yeah.
before the world gives them another view that will be very difficult to correct going forward. Yeah.
Uh,
And what we're learning here today is that it's never too early. It's always good to
Never,
move
never too early. Never, never
forward.
too early.
And
Just
it
like
doesn't have to be a formal discussion. It can be a conversational thing that just happen, you know,
I
as
put, I copied that book that Vivian was saying on the
yeah,
text.
intentional parenting. Yeah, I think I looked up
Intentional
for it.
parenting. I went to see it, and it's a good book we can recommend to
Yeah,
our
viewers.
our friends, and
Mm,
I mean, from the little I've seen there, parenting has to be intentional. I think
yeah,
that's our first week on this program.
yeah.
It has to be really intentional, and I'm surprised that somebody has even written a book about it. If you remember our past episode where we are battling with all the technicalities,
Mm-hmm.
we talk about parenting must be
Intentional.
intentional,
Yeah.
not just maybe just treat passive. The children they will find themselves. No, they don't.
It
The
it,
word will take them
it,
away
it has
from
to be
you.
deliberate. It's not just by how will I put it, by happenstance that your children comes
No,
up.
that
No,
it's more than that because
more than
the
that.
world system, the entertainment industry,
Yeah,
secular industry, they are on the aggressive.
very aggressive.
They they are on the aggressive. They protrude. They invade their privacy.
Mm,
But if you are not doing anything, if you are not, if you are not making any effort, you just discover that the world has already taken over your family and your
yeah,
life. You just be the odd one out. Say, what's this man, conservative man preaching? But we should start early also.
yeah,
Early also. Look at our sisters' children now. Say, she already built the foundation in them that even when they sit, you know, children, they are very powerful. Once you teach them,
yeah.
either verbally or non-verbally, that's what the Bible says. Train up a child in the way he should go. When he's old, when he's of age, when he's at reach age to make decision him or herself,
It will not depart.
though the pressure exactly will be pulling, but he will not depart from it. It's the word of God and it's true.
Yeah,
Most
I agree.
parents don't train. That's the problem. They go after the dollars. Father goes in the morning, comes back
And that is say ileti afitomo
in the new war.
ifeniowo. You
You
know,
have to translate it to Ileti Afitomo.
it means actually that was not the one I was looking for. You know, is the one I was looking for is ọmọ àkọ́kọ́ ló máa kọ́ ló máa
Ko
kọ́
Ileta
ilé
Kota.
àkọ́tà. And the interesting about that adage, it literally means that if you don't train up a child, all the
Yes,
investment you made in life, will be destroyed by that child.
yes.
You know, but when you say it in Yoruba language like that, because of the core, it makes so much
It's deeper.
sense. Yeah, you know,
It's deeper.
it's very deep. It's very deep. You know,
Yes.
so it's very interesting. But I think what comes out today is that it's very important for us to start very early. It's very important for us to engage them, not just shut them out. If the child comes to you and asks you a question about things that he or she is not clear with, or what she hears from outside, please see it as an opportunity to give your view, no matter how busy you are. It's very important for you to drop everything. In fact, if the child comes to you and asks you a question like that, drop everything immediately and say,
Yes,
yes, let's talk
yes,
about this. Because that
yes.
shows the child that next time he or she can come back to you and say, I need to ask this for my parents as well. And that's why also I keep saying that it's good for us to be in their space, be aware of what is happening around them your own way, so that when you are engaged with them on those issues, you can talk from the knowledge of what you know as well, not just be
Certainly.
blank about it.
Evidently, yes.
Yeah,
Be in their world, be in their world, engage them,
yeah.
speak their language too.
Speak their language. Speak their language. Yeah.
Speak their language too. It doesn't cost you anything. So, like for example, I wanted to say this last week,
Mm.
but we forgot. I think Femi said something one day, all of them, they were the house, were just laughing. So they now asked us, say, when we go to Paris, we want to dance with someone, say, my wife said, excuse me, dance. They laughed. Their way is different. Excuse me, dance.
Those days, that's how you say those days,
Exactly. So they told us that I can't remember. So all of us, I said, can
So
you imagine? I
they
said,
have their own
is
slang
it not
there.
that? So I was telling them that our way is more straightforward. We are telling you, excuse me to dance. I
Mm.
know that's not what it is. I said, that your generation is drive by, drive through, drive through,
Drive through, eh?
drive through. Yeah, excuse me, dance.
Even
You have
those
to
days,
be,
our own generation, we are still very conservative.
yes, excuse
Mm.
me, dance. He said, no, everyone, they're just laughing at us.
Yeah.
It's well.
Anyway, so we are rounding up now. So next week, I want to come with a topic to discuss on this issue. Something that we can talk about. So think about it so that next week you'll be the one driving the issues. So I was
I
like,
can even say it now because I think I try
you
to
have something in
introduce
mind?
it. Eh?
You have something in mind?
Yes, I already have something in mind. I introduced it, but maybe because Vivian was not there. How do parents
Hmm.
balance training? Because it's a
Balance
different thing
what?
for mother to be saying something, father will be saying something.
So
How
when you
do
say,
parents,
hmm,
how do parents as a parent, as couple,
hmm,
they ensure that they deliver the right training to the children without, the children using
one against other.
uh, exactly. Because I
Okay.
see it as a challenge in marriages.
Yeah,
I see it as a challenge in
I
marriages
agree with you.
because
That
exactly,
that's the good to discuss, so that we all speak
exactly.
with one voice. You know.
And if possible, we can bring somebody, we can bring another lady inside so that with two ladies, two guys,
Okay. Yeah.
if
Do you have anybody in
we
mind?
can women now.
This time on Thursday she's at work.
Okay.
Yeah, start
I've
working
tried to
next week on
I told
Thursday.
my wife to join us, but I don't know why she didn't join.
Okay, so let's talk to Amaka. She could join us
Let
next week.
make it a panel. Let's yeah, because we want people to be blessed. I mean,
Yes.
I want that to be balanced
Yes.
also. Let's have balance here too. At least two
Yes.
ladies, two guys.
Yeah.
Let
Okay.
them bring their perspectives in. How do couples? Why? What are the things men do that ladies don't like? Because we bring in mothers here.
Yeah.
Because I mean, what are the things
That's a
guys
very
do?
important thing, really, because I don't want to talk about it too much now because we're going to talk about it next week. But I tell you, if you don't want a situation whereby a child is putting the parents against each other, you have to speak,
Exploiting the
yeah,
differences.
exploiting, yeah, the differences. You have to speak with one voice. There's no two way about that.
That's it.
Yeah.
So, the topic can be how do parents balance parenting to avoid children exploiting their differences or
Okay.
something like that.
So, if you're listening to us, this is what we're discussing next week. How do we balance parenting to ensure that children do not exploit differences in
Yeah.
our thoughts,
Okay.
or our actions to their advantage, and to the disadvantage of parenting as a
Or the family as a whole,
family.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay. We'll look at that next week. So, if you have not subscribed to our channel, whether you are watching live now or you are watching later, I want to advise, please subscribe to our channel so that next time we are online, you can be part of this program as well. We're discussing things that we can all relate with on parenting for our children. Thanks, Pastor Yika, for joining today. Sister Vivian, I believe you
A
watch
pleasure. A pleasure.
this later. We are co-hosts on this program anyway, so we're
And
always
I
there.
want to ask you before you go, do you know where your children are?
Yes, that's a good question. I think we should be starting and closing with that question. Do you know
I
where
had to
your
do that
children
because we didn't
are?
start with it.
Yes, do you
Because
know where children are? And when we say that, we are asking not only physically where they are. Do you know where
everyone,
they are emotionally? Do you know where they are spiritually? Do you know where they are intellectually? Many of us are very much into the intellectual and the location
spiritual.
wise. You know,
And even some of us are spiritual,
no, some
like,
I'm telling you from my experience, very few people are very so much into the spiritual level of their children. That's the reality I feel. Yeah, but
okay. Yes,
intellectually we are top of it. Schoolwork, everything.
yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes, yes. Yes.
location
Yes.
wise,
No,
most of them are there.
naturally, we neglect the spiritual.
But
When you talk
emotional,
about man shall not live by
sometimes we
bread alone,
mm,
it will be very difficult for you to see a man that would think is talking about spiritual food.
yeah,
They push the spiritual to the extreme, I mean, to
extreme.
the backbone
Yeah.
intellectually. And at times, some of these children, they have mental injury. I told you about a case that I handled,
Mm.
a boy that was rushed, through everything that, you know, he has finished first degree at.
Yeah. You mentioned that to me. You mentioned that to me.
Exactly. So
That's
that's
another factor. Another factor we need to
another
discuss about.
eye opener. There must be balance,
Yeah, there's
social
a
balance.
balance. There's a balance. Okay.
And what I want to add also is that
Yeah.
you know where your children are, and if you don't know, it's never too late to start.
Okay. I agree with you. I agree with you. It's
Yes.
about too late to start.
If you don't know where you are there emotionally,
Hmm.
you can start.
That's true. It's about too late.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much. It's been a nice one talking about this issue today. Next week, by the grace of God, we'll be here with you again. God bless you.
Mhm.
Amen.
Bye bye.